Hi, thank you for joining me for the Chapter 1 Stability of Intention Guided Practices. In Benedictine care, we prioritize our spirituality and our contemplative practices. We bring them forward in our intentions, um, and then we use our lifestyle choices, our food as medicine, our lifestyle as medicine for stewardship for our body. But we really practice our Benedictine value of stability within our spirituality and contemplative practices. And that is increasing the practices that we do are to increase our level of attention and receptivity to the divine presence, to our lighter voice. And it's cultivating this intention to turn towards and then act that is introduced in chapter 1. So go ahead and get comfortable. There isn't going to be anything for you to read. I want to give you, or I'd love for you to have an opportunity to just close your eyes for this section. I know we have lots of words and, thinking of the concepts, even though we're moving into our bodies. But for these guided practices, I'd love for you just to close your eyes and let me take you along with moving into our bodies. It's really that embodiment, that body where we get the bio spirituality, bio for body spirituality, and it's bringing our physical body into our spiritual practices and beginning to pause to listen regularly throughout the day, shifting our attention to the divine presence and feeling what some physical sensations, what is our body communicating to us. So this is introduced right away in chapter 1. So what I'd love for as you start closing your eyes, right away on page 2 of chapter 1, I take you through some questions of really having you stop to pause right away on what it felt like, what the sense was, and what your experience was when you made the decision to enroll in the program. And I know myself that when I'm reading books and reading material, um, often when there's reflective questions, I will be the first to admit that I pass over them. Um, so if you've already done this, absolutely feel free to fast forward a little bit to the turn towards practice. Um, but if not, I really would like you to close your eyes and give this some consideration. Um, because when we stop and pause right in the middle of doing something, it's just such an incredible opportunity to really start disrupting our patterns and getting more receptive to what our body actually needs for regulation. So let's go ahead and have you close your eyes if that feels comfortable, or just gaze out the window or gaze down and take a deep breath. And I'd like you to start reflecting on those days leading up to your enrollment. And let's start by having you think of what were the thoughts that you had about starting a new program or starting changes again? What were more of the thoughts? What were you thinking? What did you hear yourself say? Just go ahead and take another deep breath. And what were the pros? And what were the cons that you heard? Now I'd like you to move from your mind and what you thought and what you were thinking and some of the dialogue that you heard about making the choice. And let's drop down into your body. Even just recalling the thoughts that you experienced, how is that influencing your physical body? What do you feel? What emotions did you experience or are you experiencing now, recalling about starting a new program or starting with change again? Can you feel that distinction between the thinking and what you thought of it and how your body carried that and how it actually translates into physical sensations? So now let's go a little bit deeper. So let's stay with your physical body and how it felt leading up to this decision and how it feels now remembering making the decision. I invite you to place your hand or to actually feel the areas where you're noticing it. Do you notice your heart rate is increasing? Maybe your heart's pounding a little bit faster. Is there tightness in your chest? Is there a general restlessness? Do you notice maybe your toes are fidgeting more than they were and you didn't even realize it? Maybe you're clenching and unclenching your fists a little bit. Listen to the impulses of your nervous system, of your physical body responding to these impulses. And like at the beginning of the reading materials, what I would expect could also be happening is that as you're quieting now and as you're taking a pause in your day, are you actually noticing, maybe more than being able to stay focused on the decision to join the program, are you starting to think about other parts of your day? Whatever you were doing right before you came to watch this video? Have you heard something in your environment in the other room? Have you heard your children say something? Has your phone rang? What else are you perceiving? And how is that influencing how you feel? Is it amplifying any of that tension? Maybe it was something soothing, like hearing a pet, and has that actually calmed you? Just stay with your physical body. Again, pay attention from toes to head. Is there restlessness? Any tension in your feet and in your legs? How about in your tummy or in your stomach? How about your back? Is there any tension or stiffness or discomfort in your lower back? Let's keep moving up to the chest, to the lungs, and to the heart. Our breathing and our heart rate can be big indicators of changes to those impulses in our body, of how we're feeling. And again, if it feels comfortable, go ahead and put your hand on those areas and just simply take a deep breath into them. This exercise isn't to change them or wish they were different. It's just to observe. It's truly just a practice in shifting our attention. not with expectation, not with change, just with an observing presence and with attention. Keep moving up to your neck and to your throat. Any tightness or sensation there? But in your face, by your lips or by your eyes? Is there tension in your forehead? Or how about in your head? We can get headaches and we can have more lightheaded feelings when we get stressed. And so, all the way from the tip of your toes to the top of your head, our nervous system runs through the entirety and can manifest impulses in all of those areas. So now the final questions of this part of the exercise and practice. I'd like you just to take a couple of breaths, nice deep breaths in your belly. Fill your belly up. And try exhaling just a little longer than you inhale. Just slowing the intention of the out breath down. And let's have you bring back that memory of enrolling in the program. And let's focus now on what did you hear that allowed you to take the action to enroll? Did you have thoughts that you heard? Or was there a sensation, a sense that you felt in your body? And maybe it's unexplainable, but it came from somewhere deeper. So you can try to spend a moment to think of what you heard in yourself, not the specific email you might have read about the program, but turning inwards, turning towards you and what did you hear that allowed you to take those next steps to enrolling? And how did that voice, what you heard, whether it was a physical sensation, an embodiment that felt sense in your body, or if you did hear it as words, how did that voice, how did you distinguish it in the clutter of the other voices? Were you aware of the difference between those voices? And what allowed you then to distinguish that voice and follow the lead of that voice that helped you accept the invitation of the program. Just continue to take deep breaths. Can you hear that now? Can you recall that distinction and that action that you took? So being able to hear that voice, even if an external voice introduced you to the program or suggested it, you internalized the choice. You still made the choice. And being able to hear that voice that felt right, despite potential but probable cons on your lists of thoughts. Being able to hear that voice, to perceive it among the clutter in your mind, and then listen to it, to give it your attention and act on it. That is the very goal of Benedictine care. So, by your intention, listening, and acting on what you heard to enroll in this program was already successful application of all that we're going to do together. And I hope what you hear in that is that you have all the capability already. Right away on page 2. I hope you feel and receive that affirmation that you have the capability. Our opportunity together is to do that and practice that more frequently so that the receptivity and being able to discern that from the clutter, to be able to bring forward that action, becomes more comfortable. And that is what we're going to do together. So let's go ahead and move on to our practice that was introduced in our chapter 1 of Turn Towards Then Act. So we are, in each chapter, one practice will be introduced, and we'll start building on and going deeper into our contemplative practices. But the pacing of Benedictine care is very intentional, with providing one chapter per month, so that during that month there's more focus of just practicing what is introduced in that chapter. When we start doing this, what will be so beneficial is that with that consistency in that one practice, what is so essential to this transforming behaviors is that your own unique experience and what you start to hear and what starts unfolding for you as an individual, that is allowed space to happen slowly, with clarity, without feeling like it's overwhelming and bringing so much into your current life that you have to fit in. That's our control model. We want to drop that. So we just want to give you simple practices. And what occurs as you do that will be completely between you and the divine. So the goal with the program is to simply provide you with a framework to start allowing that to happen. So in chapter 1, our first practice is to try to give you a simple method of starting to bring and cultivate that intention to shift our attention to the divine in the most ordinary of lifestyle choices. When we have our hand on the refrigerator door and are staring in for a snack, when we're considering what we're going to buy at the grocery store, in the most ordinary of moments, we want a practice that requires nothing but those capabilities that we already have. So again, I invite you to close your eyes, and we're going to go through the practice just to show the simplicity. So close your eyes and take a simple, deep breath. Then turn towards. Bring your attention back to right here. If it feels right, place your hand gently on your heart and take another deep breath. When you're ready, ask the divine and ask your lighter voice for help. Ask for patience. Ask for trust. Ask for this to be easier. Ask for anything that is in your heart. Within the clutter, try to perceive any glimpse of your lighter voice that is there but harder to hear. Any piece of that is what we want to bring forward and act in alignment with. If you don't hear it, it's okay to just move forward, knowing it's there and trusting the step you do take. And take another deep breath and act on that direction. And that is it for this practice. It can be 10 seconds long. It can be breathe in, hand over heart, ask for help, and step. Or it can be a minute pause while you're in line at the supermarket or in traffic. we can take those deep breaths and turn towards our lighter voice in the divine and ask for them to be with us, ask for them to help us feel their presence. And as it states in the chapter, the expectation is that you are going to, as you're getting started, forget about this for long moments of the day. But when you remember and then you turn towards, that's the very practice. This remembering and this breaking out of this forgetfulness and taking action when we do remember, where we aren't just reading ideas and concepts, we're applying them. And that is where we're going together in Benedictine care. So starting right here in chapter 1, just deep breaths, turn towards in that sacred sliver of space before a choice. As often as you remember, ask for what is in your heart and then act. Thank you. I'll be excited to hear how your experiences go in our group meetings. Thank you.